Hello, everybody. Welcome to the podcast. I'm here with Adam Winters again. I'm Joe Gould. We're continuing our deep dive in the Rankin Bass holiday specials. With this one, we have Rudolph's Shiny New Year from 1976.
And it wants us to believe it's a direct sequel.
Yeah, it kind of feels like it might be like in a separate universe.
Oh, that's fair.
Or another Rudolph.
Same voice actor, though. Slightly different design than his grown-up self, even though he's less than 2 years old by the time he saves the day in the last movie.
So what was the time gap here between making the movies? Like, was it 12 years?
Well, I think the first Rudolph was 1964, and that when it came on TV.
Okay. So we got a 12-year jump. It's kind of an odd timing. I don't know why they went back to revisit Rudolph. Maybe the television specials just weren't hitting the ratings they were, or they used to. But they did a cash grab, and I don't know what I think of this movie. It's a fun movie, but I don't know about it.
Well, in our last podcast, I introduced the idea of New Year's movies being different than Christmas movies. Do you even think this is a Christmas movie, or is it all about New Year's, even though Santa Claus is in it?
Yeah, I mean, it's a New Year's movie using Christmas characters and random things, random people.
That I wish
random.
I wish some of those random people would have gotten their own Rankin Bass movie, is what I wish.
Yeah. And actually, are they people? Like, are any of these people?
Okay, are you talking about the archipelago of past years? Is that what you're talking about? We're just going to jump into this?
Well, I'm talking about that, but also just the premise that I still don't think I understand, and I really don't remember it being as confusing as a kid. I remember as a kid, Rudolph has to find the baby, the New Year's baby, or else you can't have New Year's.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the extent of what I remember as a child.
That's what the movie's about, in essence. Yes.
Well, let's catch up where it starts off with. So they get back from Christmas. Santa gets a letter saying that Father Time needs help. Father Time is also the narrator of the movie.
Red Skelton, everybody. Red Skelton.
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah.
Doing some fine work here. And Happy, which is the name of the baby New Year, is missing. And if not found, the old year will go on and on and on and on, and it will be December 31st forever.
I admit, I would like to see that concept explored more. What would be the consequences of that?
And they grab Rudolph because it's snowy outside. And he says, "Once more, the happiness of the world's children depend on you."
This is the same storm that Rudolph just helped Santa get through. And now Santa's saying, "Go get him, Rudolph. You're on your own, buddy. Save the universe."
Yes. Yes, and he says, "Rudolph, with your nose so bright, you've 6 days left to set things right." And then we get a very lame intro credit sequence with little New Year's
the balloons?
Cats.
A lot of balloons.
It was all lame.
I didn't think it was bad. I mean, it wasn't great, but it wasn't as good as the Rudolph 64 intro, simple as it was.
And I think the other problem with this movie in general is that Christmas songs are awesome. New Year's songs suck.
Oh, come on. We all love Auld Lang Syne. We can't spell it, but we love singing that.
We can't spell it. If we see it written down, we can't say it.
We know what it is, though. Lest old acquaintance be forgotten, never brought to mind. For a lot of people, that's let's go ahead and do that. They should have
kept... Well, fine. Use that tune and get 8 sets of lyrics. Then, because suppose what they did in this thing, the music in this movie is just not very good.
Now, I will say the first 2 songs they do, I think, are really strong. And after that, it feels like the songs are in the movie just to be in the movie, as opposed to actually moving the plot along or developing characters or anything like that. The first 2 are about New Year's. The one about, now, I want to say it's the hand that writes, but it's the one where Father Time describes how the New Year baby grows old throughout the year. I like that, even if I can't remember the name of it. You got the name of it written down?
So, I have a list of songs from the wiki. I'm not sure if the first one is the intro, The Moving Finger Writes.
That's it. That's what I'm talking about. The Moving Finger Writes, about the little baby as it grows up each month, and the transitions are very well done.
Well, I'm not saying that the scenes are bad. I'm saying the music is bad. I'm not saying it looks bad.
Turn back the years. Something. It's a good little montage. The music's... After that, I could jettison every single song in the movie after the turn back the years bit.
There are 8 songs in this movie.
That's
one of them is Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, and one of them is the 4th of July Parade.
I don't even remember a song being in. That's like Island 1776, right? That's where they do.
We'll come back to that.
Yeah,
we'll come back to that. All right, so the credit sequence, and then it goes to Father Time.
Red Skeleton.
I'm sorry. Rudolph goes to Father Time before setting out to do his real adventure.
Are we going to talk about the friends he meets along the way that we'd never see again in the rest of this movie?
Well, let me say one thing about before we get there. Father Time. He looks like a crazy uncle cosplaying as a colorblind Grim Reaper.
The sickle is nice. It raises a lot of questions because he says he's Father Time, but he gives Grim Reaper vibes. Now,
it's like if the Tooth Fairy was the Grim Reaper, that's how he'd be dressed.
So there's confusion here. I don't know that it really matters in the context of this movie, but we can jump into this or not. Is Father Time a previous New Year's baby? Because they sort of insinuate that the New Year's babies grow up to be Father Time, but then they immediately disprove that because they say that all the previous New Years they moved to their own island in the archipelago.
Well, so I think, and that is one of the things I was going to get at, is it sounds to me like Father Time is replaced every year. Because they showed the song, Turn Back the Moving Finger Writes, and they show this baby that looks like Happy, I think.
Red hair, though.
And then,
red hair.
Yeah, with red hair. And it's just growing as the months pass. And by December, it looks like Father Time. It is Father Time. So they don't ever say this outright. But adult logic would say that if they find Happy takes the place of Father Time. And the current Father Time, whatever his name is, I guess Father Time, lives on an island.
That does not seem to be the way it should work. But it seems to be implied. The calendar that they show during the hand that writes, I think it's the 1973 calendar. Could be the 1974. It is not the 1975 or 6 or 7 or anything.
That would make sense. Apparently this this special was filmed in 1975. Just didn't get released until 76. So using a 74 calendar, it seems plausible.
I was wondering why they picked an older calendar as opposed to the year they were in. Not that they ever said what year it was supposed to be. But,
yeah.
Well...
So we got ahead of ourselves a little bit.
Yeah.
I think we can come back to that. I mean, I don't know that we have... They never bring it up. It's just all visual implications of that song. So they... apparently General Ticker joins Rudolph on the quest, which is basically a little clock. And he's Father Time's right-hand man. You know, he sickles him, and then the general carries him out.
He's very much useless,
It's 2:30 a.m., by the way.
Yeah.
You know what time it is? It's 2:30.
He doesn't help Rudolph at all.
Oh, no. It's 2:30 in the morning, and then they reach the sands of time at 4:05 a.m., and that's where they meet the great 5:15.
Yeah.
Which is a camel. And Rudolph says, that's a long name. Can I call you Court?
Nope.
And he says no.
I like that camel. You know what? He's like, we ain't friends, boy. I'm the great quarter. Is it 5:45 or 5:15? Remind me again.
5:15.
5:15. So 5:15.
But you know what? That won't matter very long because here we meet. This movie has an actual antagonist, Eon the Terrible.
It's Rodan in the Rankin Bass style.
Yeah, which is basically a giant buzzard. I mean giant. It's not a regular buzzard. It's as big as a whale.
I imagine he gave children some nightmares back in the day.
Maybe. Got some weird neck hair.
Ooh, yeah.
And so he arrives, and they're scared, but he's not paying attention to them. He's looking for the baby. And we find out, and I can't remember if it's here that we find out, but basically he can only live until he is 1 eon old. And then he will turn into snow and ice. And on January 1st, it will officially have been an eon. So his eon is up.
This is unfortunate timing. You know, it's like the Banshee and her deal and Trantor the Troll, maybe. Very unfortunate timing for poor Eon. They never say how long an eon is, simply because an eon is supposed to be considered by definition an inestimable lengths of time. But it's up. How do they know it's up? I don't know. Father Time knows, I suppose.
Well, apparently Eon knows. And at this point, they have a mission. Their mission is to kill Eon. And
Well,
as such,
hold on.
Rudolph gets permission to call him court.
Now they're in the foxhole together, and they'll never see each other again, I think.
Yeah, it's 4:40 a.m. at this point too.
But we just said he's a quarter past 5. Is he a quarter till 5? 4 something a.m.?
Well, the great 5:15 doesn't change time. His clock stayed the same. The general tickers kept moving around. But then, the clock nonsense kind of goes away at this point. Then we get a horrible song about New Year. I think it's Turn Back the Years.
I like that. No. That's when Rudolph goes on the boat. No, when they get to Father Time's place, they do The Hand That Writes. It's very melancholy. I like it.
The hand that writes. I thought the moving finger writes.
The moving finger's on the hand. Yeah, the moving finger that writes. I don't know the names of these things.
Okay, all right, yeah, that's when we get the song. All right, I didn't care for the music. The visual was fine. So we find out that Happy ran away because he wasn't very happy. Kid's got big ears.
Character development. Rudolph, he can empathize.
So he ran away with his top hat, which covers up his ears in most of the movie. And Rudolph suspects that his friends did not allow him to join in any New Year's games.
Like drinking shots or something? What kind of New Year? When you take a pan and you bang on it really loud at the stroke of midnight. That's a New Year's game. Shooting off shotguns at New Year's. You ever been part of that celebration?
Boy, this sounds like a Camden, Tennessee kind of celebration.
I've seen it all. I've heard it all.
Well, I guess it could be Louisville too, but
That's the cover. The fireworks are the cover for the street shootings in Louisville.
Yeah, and basically this is the introduction of something's going to happen repeatedly throughout the movie. Is that Happy's not happy because his hat falls off or it's taken off for some reason, and whoever he's with, whoever he's befriended, laughs at him because they think it's just so funny.
It is.
And he gets very upset and runs away.
And he crawls away, but he crawls really fast. He makes incredible distance whenever he starts to crawl.
And I can't quite put my finger on it, but I think this repeated thing really illustrates a different culture in terms of what is considered acceptable bullying. Like, jumping a little bit to the end, Rudolph basically says, I used to get bullied, but it made me a stronger person. And now it doesn't bother me anymore.
Heck yeah.
And then they repeatedly say, they weren't trying to be mean. They just couldn't help it.
Well, they were.
They couldn't help but make fun of. They were Rudolph.
Yeah.
Which again, it's like you got a 12-year time jump in culture here. And I don't think what they're selling here would be bought today.
Save the receipts. Rudolph saved his.
It's just like people got such thin skin these days. And there's no names you could call someone that wouldn't get you in trouble anyways. So it's just like, I don't know. It's different. They're not really condemning the people laughing at the baby throughout this movie. Instead, they just want the baby to grow up.
The camel laughs at him at one point, right?
I think they all laugh at him at one point.
I don't know. I didn't see Father Time laugh at him. What do you think about the idea that the baby New Year is already born, even though it's not New Year's Day? I thought it was a very rigid part of the tradition. Baby New Year is born at the stroke of midnight, whenever that is, relatively speaking.
You would think. Maybe he's going through his training class to learn his responsibilities for the year.
Okay. Just feels like he's getting a head start on things, but I guess that must happen every year if Eon thinks he can steal the baby before the new year.
I don't know. So they find out from the nanny who laughed at him that he always wanted to visit the ancient archipelago.
Yeah, the baby New Year, who's 6 days early, has always wanted to visit the archipelago.
Yeah, of last year's.
Yeah.
And we found this is a group of islands hidden far north, hidden by fog. And each island basically is an old year that's been frozen in time. Not literally frozen, there's people walking around. But it is as if you're just living the same moment forever and ever and ever.
Again, that's an interesting idea. And there's a lot more islands than it is suggested there would be than are shown, because I think about 6 or 7 are referenced, but one of them is 1 million BC. And so you're dealing with about, Rudolph says he can search them all at one point. Like roughly 1,002,000 islands you gotta be looking at here.
I would think I would think it'd be 1,119,74 or 75 islands
Yeah, give or
because it's
take a few years
1976.
on the numbering there, if that might be off. But
Yeah.
um,
So
huh?
either that or there's a very high mortality rate for Father Time.
Ooh, islands
What
that
happens
did
if Father
exist.
Time dies throughout the year? What if he doesn't make it to the end of the year?
That's a good idea. You know, every time somebody goes on social media and says the year is ruined, maybe that's when one of those things dies prematurely and they don't get an island.
I don't know. It's like the old saying: every time a bell rings, an angel gets its wings.
Yeah,
You know,
good New Year's movie.
I don't know. So they're told by Father Time that they can go find this giant sundial, and that the arm of that sundial will point through the fog to the island. So then Rudolph can turn his nose on and go back through time and kill John Connor.
And he uses a giant sail made out of a giant calendar page from August 1928, if I remember. I kind of like that detail. I don't know why it's on there,
Yeah,
but
no, that's good.
back the year.
How does a sundial work?
You got to have sun to get shadows,
Yes, and it changes, right?
depending on the sun angle. Yes,
So is this a sundial or is this a metal flag?
it's got to work with the moon, even though
I don't remember him telling him to be there at a certain time, did he? Maybe I'm wrong on that.
it's Father Time's sundial. He can make whatever rules he wants for it.
Then we get another lame song. This is where Rudolph is on the boat calendar.
Don't diss on Turn Back the Years. You can hate on every other song in this movie, but let me have Turn Back the Years.
And then Rudolph's on the boat, but Eon finds him, and we have what would have been at that point the commercial break. And instead of going back to that scene, they go back to Father Time, who fills everyone in on what happened in the first 17 minutes before they go back to Rudolph.
Must have been a long commercial break. A lot of sponsors.
So Eon, before he can do anything to Rudolph, gets foiled by Big Ben Redbeck. Is that right?
I forgot the last part of his name. I just thought he was Big Ben, but he's a giant whale, a blue whale, I suppose.
Big Ben the whale.
Voiced by your friend and mine,
Harold Peary. Or Perry.
a.k.a. the great Gildersleeve, Throckmorton Gildersleeve, who we had an imitation of in Mad, Mad, Mad Monsters. But now we get the real deal, complete with his distinctive chuckle laugh. And he's about the only friend Rudolph will meet on this adventure who contributes anything of significance to the plot, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's probably fair. I question why he did what he did exactly. There's consequences to what he did later, but
at the very minimum, he chauffeurs Rudolph around. He can do that because Rudolph apparently doesn't want to fly much in this movie. Maybe too much stamina to lose.
Yeah, he can fly all around the world, but he can't fly across the lake.
Well, remember, he just got done doing the world trek with Santa Claus, so I'm sure he's got some fatigue. Probably used up a little magic or something.
Yeah. Well, initially the whale just eats Rudolph, but Rudolph decides he'd probably rather, ride on top. So he gets out and gets on top of the whale.
I love the scenes of Rudolph floating in the water, whether it's on his little boat or whether he's on top of Big Ben the whale. I find them the best visual scenes in the movie.
They are good in terms of a dramatic effect. Riding on the water is pretty cool. And then, so they foil basically the bird. And Big Ben says, "You're a bad birdie."
You're a bad birdie.
Yeah. I don't know how they identify these islands. They go to the oldest island first, and apparently 1 million BC retired there.
Who was, I guess, a previous baby New Year's. Maybe or maybe not a Father Time. But
we assume the first Father Time.
So he's voiced by somebody notable. Hold on now. Is it the Riddler? Is he the voice of OM?
Nope.
No.
This Maury Amsterdam is 1 million BC.
Dick Van Dyke.
OM.
Rosemarie. Maury Amsterdam. There we go.
So anyways, we find out that Baby New Year had been there, had saved a pterodactyl egg, that was being praised.
Hold on. Wait. We got to stop for a second. How are there new pterodactyls being born if the passage of time is frozen?
Well, it's not frozen. It just doesn't progress.
What? Is there no day or no night? Is that
That's not clear. I don't
okay?
know.
You can
Time is a
continue
very
now.
loose concept in this movie.
You can continue on Baby Pterodactyl.
His hat falls off, and they go from praising to laughing, and he runs away. And when Rudolph hears this, he's just very, very sad and depressed. But old OM, he's a glass half full kind of guy. He says, "Stop with the don't thoughts, start with the do thoughts to turn that frown upside down."
This is where we get the song about sunshine, raining, rain and sunshine.
Yeah. You get another lame song where the dinosaurs sound like children when they're singing. The singing dinosaurs.
They put so much
And
work into that dinosaur island. And I'm thinking, why didn't we just have a Rankin Bass movie about dinosaurs instead of this?
what was the tune for this song?
It's about rain and sunshine, or it is raining sunshine, maybe.
Yeah, so I wrote down the words. I can't remember the tune, but it's raining sunshine when you smile away your tears. It's basically the only lyrics in the song, but
yeah,
what you gonna do?
It ain't great, even with all the dinosaur choreography. What a waste.
So then they go. Now he joins Rudolph in the hunt, so to speak.
He'll do nothing of value, but yeah.
Oh no, he does absolutely nothing. And they search for 2 days, and we wonder, are there a million islands here? That's what I wrote down.
They visited 2 apparently in 2 days, right?
Yeah. And so then they get to the let me see here actually. So they do say they went to 4000 BC island. This is off screen.
Yeah.
But all they wanted to do was build pyramids.
Yeah.
And then
they visited.
There's some
3.
other islands that they I think it was 1492 island. But he mentioned those people were too busy discovering things. Now that would have been the year Christopher Columbus had his first voyage.
Yeah.
And then they went to the
1893?
1893. Yeah. But the inhabitants there were never happy, or I never heard of happy. Now 1893 was the beginning of a major economic depression in the West.
Did you look that up on the internet, or did you just know that?
I did.
The last one is 1965, as I remember.
Yes, but that island was too noisy to search for happy. So noisy world events of 1965 would have been Beatlemania. That's probably what they're getting to. Possibly opposition to Vietnam. But
when I heard that, I thought it was a shout out to the original Rudolph year, but no, that was 64. I had to look that back up, not 65.
Yeah, they would. Well, I mean, it could be celebrating the first revision.
Ooh, crafty. So they visited 4 islands in 2 days, then, and all came to naught because they had no clues that Happy had ever been there.
I guess so. I mean, that means they would have had 1,172 left to look for.
Time.
Happy's making good time here on these islands. He's visiting quite a few.
That kid can move. So fortunately, if I remember, the next place they pick is the right one. 1023. The Middle Ages.
And this is where all the fairy tales that have ever taken place. This is the year they all happened.
How convenient.
That's a tight window.
It's a big year for literature, rhyme,
yeah,
all that.
So we got a Tin Man with a beard. We'll come back to him. We got Little Red Riding Hood. We got Cinderella. We got the 3 little pigs. We got a girl eating porridge with a spider. I think I forget the name of the nursery rhyme.
Little Miss Muffet.
Little Miss Muffet. There you go. Yeah. Humpty Dumpty.
Yeah.
Is there. He did see him, but he ran off, and all the king's horses and all the king's men laughed.
Did we see the
all
3
7
little
dwarfs
pigs?
don't know where he's at. We did see 3 little pigs.
Oh, okay.
I think.
All right.
Wait a second. Yes, yeah. I've written down 3 little pigs.
Stepping on the Disney territory.
Most of these characters did not have speaking parts. It was just like glancing at them.
What a waste, right? We had all these things built. Rumpelstiltskin, you remember? That was kind of odd.
Yeah, and I was like,
Rumpelstiltskin
saw him, but he ran away from him because, as Rumpel said, no baby wants to stay with him.
I wonder why.
He did look pretty creepy. Yeah.
Now, he's voiced by somebody. He's probably voiced by the Riddler, Frank Gorshin.
No. You're just all over the place. Don Messick. Don
Scooby-Doo!
Messick was Papa Bear.
Scooby-Doo!
Yep. He was Papa Bear, Rumpelstiltskin, Prince Charming, the 7 Dwarfs.
7.
Well, I'm looking at it. Let me see if I can Find the other ones. Red Skeleton was also the baby bear. I love that character, by the way.
Okay, I want to say a little bit more about Baby Bear. We can hold off if we need to, but did you ever play Conquer?
Just hold off 1 second.
Okay.
So they talked to Rumpelstiltskin, and they went away. But what they didn't know is right outside that house, the baby was right there, and they didn't see him. So at this point, they go off one direction, and then Baby New Year's goes the other direction, and there he goes and finds the very well kept house. Take it away.
The three bears. So Papa Bear, Mama Bear, Baby Bear. He sits in the chairs. One is probably too hard, the other's too soft, the other's just right, but nevertheless he breaks it. A little bit surprising. A baby bear doesn't break it, but a Baby New Year does. So then he goes up and we already tried the porridges, right? The too hot, too cold, just right. Ate it all up. Went up to the beds. One, I don't know. He picks the baby bear's bed because it's just right. So
one's too hard, one's too soft, and one's just right.
So the bears come back while he's sleeping in Baby Bear's bed. And fortunately, they're a lot nicer bears than you might have heard in several Goldilocks retellings.
That mother sounds like she's from New Jersey. I did not expect a kind bear, but she is pretty nice. Little Baby Bear has a lisp, but,
He voiced by Red Skelton. Now, did you ever play Conker's Bad Fur Day?
I own it on a compilation disc. I started it. I never owned it back in the day just because it was pretty hard to find.
Yeah.
Now, those N64 games in general have not aged as well as some other systems. They're too blurry.
Sure.
And they're even worse on new TVs.
Yeah, that's the
so I didn't make it very far.
But some about Red Skelton's Baby Bear makes me think he was an inspiration for Conker in that game. Better manners, but Conker started out as a cutesy kids character, and then they got criticized for making too many cutesy games, and they decided we're going to go really hard the other direction. But nevertheless,
well, it started off as a cutesy game.
Yeah, there were Conker games before Bad Fur Day, one or two, I think, and he was cutesy in that.
So cutesy the bear gets into a game with Rudolph. They decide they're going to keep him as a pet.
A friend. He's a friend.
Yeah. Well, so apparently he likes to be hit by sticks. So there's a game that we got to play the game right. Hit me with a stick, but not too hard. And then for some reason with the game, he couldn't be wearing the hat.
No. You got to celebrate when you slay the dragon.
Oh,
take the head off.
Yeah.
Like the helmet.
So he took his hat off, and the bear giggled, and then he really ran off real quick, and he was like, "Where's he going? Where's he going?"
How does none of the bears, they're able to catch up with him? We get a very weird transition after that happens.
Well, I don't think they're allowed in the woods. The woods are dangerous. So before we do the transition, since you keep getting it wrong, in the scene before this, the Tin Man or the Knight, that is Frank Gorshin.
Sir 1023.
He was only in 10 episodes of Batman.
He made an impression. Did he do the movie?
Yes, 10 episodes in the movie.
They replaced him with John Astin, right? Gomez? Or did one come first? Did Gomez Adams, was he the first Riddler?
All right, let me look this way. All right, he played the Riddler in 10 episodes, as well as the movie. John Astin made 2 appearances in 1967 when Gorshin was not available. Gorshin was very upset about that.
Oh.
But he did agree to return as Riddler in season 3.
Okay.
And then he was also in that very weird Legends of the Superheroes from 1979.
Never seen that.
I've seen clips of it. It's not very good.
Well, of course it's not. But it is impressive it happened, that it got made.
Now, I looked this guy up. I didn't realize this. He's really known for that role. That guy was in 80 movies between 1956 and 2006. And he was also in, it appears to be, about 100 TV shows. I don't know what his net worth was when he was done. I hope he got paid well.
A classic.
But yeah, he's forever the Joker, even though it's been less than 1%. I'm sorry, the Riddler. Though he was less than 1% of his contributions to film.
Oh, well. We're talking about Gorshin? Gorshin or Astin? Who are we talking about now?
Gorshin.
Okay,
Gorshin.
Thank you. Gorshin.
Yeah. So 1023 is wandering around with him, but he doesn't really contribute anything other than you hear the Joker. But,
the Riddler.
The Riddler. I keep saying that. I don't know. I've never done that before, and I've done it twice in the last 5 minutes.
I thought Jim Carrey would have made a better Joker than a Riddler, personally, but whatever.
Well, when you kill the Joker.
Shouldn't have done that.
Yeah. So anyways, He runs in the woods, and then they go back to Rudolph and his little crew, and they're yelling for him. And then they look up and they see Eon, and he has the baby.
What
Off-screen kidnapping of the child. I guess you couldn't show that in film.
what a ridiculous transition. They could have made this matter a whole lot more if they had done it in front of the baby bear. You know, they could have given him little tears as he saw him fly away.
I kind of wonder if it's the character of Eon has no hands, and maybe they couldn't figure out a sensible way to animate him picking up the baby and putting it on its back.
Well, I think the implication is Eon befriended Happy the baby, or at least gave the impression of doing that.
Well, I think the second time he did. I don't know about this first time.
Because he's riding comfortably on the bird's neck, right?
Yeah, you're right. So then they chase with Big Ben, who shoots water out of his back hole.
Again, the only
And hits the
contribution
bird.
that is made
Yes.
by any of these characters here.
And the baby falls crashing to his death.
Well, he has a
Oh,
diaper
wait.
or something, doesn't he?
His hat turns into a parachute,
Not the diaper.
but
Okay.
a big wind blows him away for 2 days.
Yeah?
I'm sorry, they have 2 days left, and he landed 1 day later.
It's like the Super Mario World cape feather. You can just keep going if you got that rhythm.
Ultimately, he lands in 1776, and he meets Ben Franklin, whose name is Sev,
Why is he not
and
named
he's
Ben
invited to
Franklin?
the 4th of July party. Because he's Baby New Year.
But he's very much Ben Franklin.
Who knew that Baby New Year was Ben Franklin? Or vice versa, however you want to say it.
Yeah, I don't know what to make of this.
He's flying a kite. It's him.
I was disappointed there was no lightning, but yeah.
And I wrote down, is the USA the only nation in 1776?
No, you had ancient England. In 1776. Okay. Yeah, apparently. I guess it's not so happy if you're British in 1776.
Yeah.
Or maybe France.
I like how these years imply that you have this monolithic culture that progresses. You know, the Egyptians, became the Beatles, and the Beatles, we worked Christopher Columbus in there, and they just keep changing and evolving every year to something different.
It begs the question, is everybody on the island a figment of the New Year grown-up baby's imagination? It's like a projection,
Lost.
a simulation.
No. It's weird. It's weirder than where you think about it too. So he gets invited to a 4th of July party, and they have a parade.
Is every day the 4th of July? Do they clarify that?
I assume so.
Even though
it has to be.
That's not December 31st.
I don't know. I don't know. Seth tells the baby to take his hat off out of respect in the parade.
Uh-oh.
The people laugh, and he runs off again.
In a hurry.
Yep. Rudolph gets there too late. Eon squawks. He's got the baby again. They pursue, using Rudolph's nose to guide them on the last night, for their last chance.
So he's still not flying. He's riding on the whale, and he decides he's going to sing.
Yeah. So, last chance. They keep saying this is their last chance. Is it really their last chance? Why is it that the New Year just can't be late? Like, why can't they just get the baby there after midnight, and then the New Year can start then?
Dim's the rules, but even then they're a little bit free. Do they introduce the idea that it has to be the number 12 stroke of midnight? Is that the specific rule?
I mean, I think they changed the rules on us. They wanted us to think that they had lost. And then we're jumping ahead a little bit.
Yeah.
But then Santa flies them and gets them there before the 12th bong.
We can
Not
hold
dong,
off on that.
or bong.
We live on Eon's Island, right? Which is not the archipelago, but they followed him there.
You're right. So they're following with Rudolph's nose. We get another commercial break, which gives opportunity for Father Time to give a narration update. And then we're taken to the island of no name, a haunted iceberg, due north of the North Pole.
No. Oh, north of the North Pole. It's very impressive.
Yeah, I like that. And then the rest of them are starting to feel hopeless. But Rudolph, he says, have a little faith in me, and day by day I'll make all your dreams come true.
Little 2-year-old reindeer got a little messiah complex going on.
That seems pretty out of character for Rudolph.
Yeah. Like, what has he accomplished so far in his life? I mean, he fought a Bomble and lost. Right?
Yeah.
He did get to lead the sleigh on Christmas night, or Christmas Eve night. however that works out. And he is one of the best takeoff artists of the new class of reindeer, even though he doesn't demonstrate much of that, if any, in this movie.
No, he's a flashlight.
Yep, really packing the heat.
So they reached the island at 11:30 p.m. I don't know if that's Eastern time, Central time. I don't know.
It's got to be like the first. It's got to be the international dateline.
If the U.S. is the only country, then it could be 11:30 Eastern.
North Pole time. I don't know how you.
And they start climbing. Go ahead.
I don't know how you keep time at the North and South poles. I'm sure I could look that up. That'd be really awkward.
So they start climbing the mountain, but they make noise, and it wakes up Eon, and he throws a little hissy fit and causes an avalanche, and they all fall down the mountain and turn into snowballs.
He goes back to bed.
Yep, he's content. But wait, Rudolph does not have an LCD bulb. He lights up that nose and melts the snowball. Kids today would have no idea why that happened.
You know, I would have thought Rudolph's nose would be far more energy efficient than that. When light gives off heat, that is evidence of an inefficient burn.
Maybe that's why it makes that weird noise.
Boy, that kind of makes me worry for old Rudolph if he's generating that much heat every time that nose goes on. No wonder Clarice was into him. She found him hot.
All right. So he's melted at this point, and he looks for Happy. Doesn't know his friends, and then he's talking with his outside voice, talking very loudly to this baby, and he's teaching the baby that he can have friends, and he tells the baby to laugh at his nose, basically. So he basically shows off what he used to get made fun of.
We get the animated flashback. We talking about that?
Well, that's what we're getting to. Yeah, but so Rudolph's showing him his nose and how he was a hero, but he's not going to toot his own horn. The trees sing the Rudolph song.
It's like the Ents in Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. And then we get an animated Rankin Bass special in 2 minutes of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
The style is very reminiscent of 'Twas the Night Before Christmas, Rankin Bass. So it's kind of nice. The
Yes.
reindeers look a little too much like mice, in my opinion, but it's all right.
Do you think they animated it because they had changed Rudolph's design just a little bit? They didn't want to make that obvious.
The stock footage would have jarred, and if you remember, they only used 6 reindeer behind him in the first movie, and every time here they use 8.
So basically, the major design on Rudolph, by the way, is they gave him a white beard, and they connected the white that was already on his neck and his chest. He might have a slightly rounder face, a little unclear. And I thought his tail might be a little bigger, but it's pretty minor other than the beard. And I'm not really sure why they did that. I kind of like the other look better.
I always pay more attention to the antlers. They're sort of a midway between his younger and older look in the first movie.
No, that's true. Of course, you don't have the time gap. Which, I mean, yeah, again, his antlers should have been the same length as they were at the end of the movie.
Yeah, if it's the same day.
Santa should look the same too, but
and I would say I wish Santa sounded the same, but the guy who voiced him in the first movie died 2 years after it came out. So that to me is just what Santa Claus sounds like in the Rankin Bass, but he was only in it once.
Yeah, maybe it was out of respect to the actor that they just made him look different too. So Rudolph's message is, you see, I stuck it out. And when I grew older, I found that this nose was the most wonderful thing in the whole world because it was a different nose from everyone else's, and it was all mine. It was really me. And with those ears, why, you're going to be the happiest New Year ever. I don't know if this makes as much sense when you slow down and read it.
Get to live in a castle by yourself, I suppose. Don't worry about it.
So then he tells the baby to show his ears, and he needs basically get over yourself. People want to laugh at you, then they will. And those ears are yours, and they make folks happy. So again, are they laughing because it makes them happy, or are they laughing at him to make fun of him?
Rudolph is giving us a narrative that we're supposed to believe. Who are we to question the great Rudolph 5 till midnight?
I mean, he was not raised very nicely by his father. You just think that he'd be remembering that. But anyways.
You're saying you want a Rudolph with daddy issues. That's what you want to explore.
Yeah. What was the show on Fox that redid some of these, maybe like a comedy? Was it Cracked?
Well,
I think of a different show.
Mad Magazine had a TV show. Is that what you're thinking of?
I think so. There was some Fox show that spoofed this stuff, a la Robot Chicken-ish.
Oh, not Robot Chicken, but something else in that style.
Yeah, it wasn't Robot Chicken, but it was the same kind of thing.
Mad Magazine did one. I don't remember what it was called. Might have just been mad or something like that.
That might be worth reviewing. Man, I kind of vaguely remember that being really funny. So anyways, the baby gets happy. Eon wakes up. Then he takes the hat off. Rudolph tells him to. And Eon dies laughing.
No, he doesn't. I wish he did, though.
Fell out of the nest, landed on the snowballs. He's not dead. Apparently he's cured. This is their workaround.
This is far less satisfying than the Bumble resolution. Eon, I wish he was dead. I'll say it. I know he was just trying to survive, but I wanted to see that bird explode or something. Turn into ice. Whatever was going to happen to him.
After he got the baby on the mountain, he kind of made a clear heel turn. Where he basically said, "You'll be my servant or slave forever."
Yeah,
Prior
it was
to
unnecessary.
That, he does seem only motivated to not dying. So, but he's cured, and now that he's warm inside, he won't die. Oh, but it's 12 a.m.
Oh,
it's too late.
Yeah, the clock.
We hear the New Year's
striking.
clock, which apparently the clock is heard worldwide. I don't know.
Up in the North Pole, sure.
But what happens?
Deus ex machina via Santa Claus.
Yeah, Santa shows up. And he gets them to Father Time before the 12th bong of the clock.
And the funny thing
no bong to spare.
They take time in between those bongs to just talk, and Santa lands, and they sort of load the sleigh. And he explains that if he can go around the world in a night, he can surely get him back to Father Time's place before the 12 strike. Those are the longest strikes.
Hey, it's those time zones, man. It's changing time zones.
Okay.
Hulk Hogan said one year he wrestled over 400 matches.
Yeah.
He could wrestle 2 matches in one day using the time zones.
Okay, sure. Why not?
Yeah. So they get happy inside. No bong to spare. The New Year ball falls, and they announce him as 19 Wonderful. Weird name. They should have workshopped that a little longer.
19 Wonderful. Huh. All right.
And you get another New Year song in the credits. Happy New Year, and may it be shiny too.
That's the outro with Rudolph talking to the camera, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's Rudolph's Shiny New Year.
Yep. But yeah, it's a fun movie. I don't know if it feels like a Rudolph movie because he doesn't really do anything Rudolph-like other than have a flashlight. I feel like this would have been better off with the dentist elf if he had been the lead character.
Yeah, you think about all the friends and the traveling partners Rudolph makes in the 64 movie, Hermes, or the elf, and Yukon Cornelius, and none of them need stupid nicknames. No OMs. Like, Yukon Cornelius is Yukon Cornelius, and they're all so much better than everybody in this movie. The closest thing to a real support character is the camel and the whale, and the camel is dropped very early on.
Well, the General TikTok, whatever his name was, you at least could tell time with him.
That would have made sense on this movie, sort of pointing out every time they look at him, he'd be the clock. Let us know how much time is left.
Yeah. So what are we gonna score it? Eons?
Big ears, clocks, balloons,
New Year's hats,
New Year's hats, yeah.
Bongs.
No, not bongs. New Year's hat. We'll go with that.
All right. We gave Rudolph 5 out of 5, right?
I did. Even if I acknowledged some things probably could have been done better, it's just Rudolph 64.
It's too good.
Yeah, it's too classic.
Yeah. All right. So I'm not giving this one 5 out of 5.
Oh, please no.
And I don't think I'm going to give it 4 out of 4 or 4 out of 5. I'm happy to give it 3 out of 5.
Is that because it does what it says it's going to do?
I think I like the pacing of the movie. It's 50 minutes. It doesn't really feel any longer than that. I think it's fun.
Yeah.
I like the fact that, and I don't know if they did it on purpose or not. I kind of like the absurdity of it.
Oh yeah.
In terms of the plot, the baby is not incredibly annoying. That's a big win. That could have been bad.
It could have been.
You had a baby that no one cared for. Like, come on, let Eon eat it. I like the baby bear.
It's not like Baby Mario in Yoshi's Story, is what you're saying.
No. I like enough of the characters. I like Baby Bear. I like Sir 1023. I like Humpty Dumpty. I like Rumpelstiltskin. So
Yeah,
I'll give it 3 out of 5. The plot doesn't make sense, but Rudolph's not the brightest reindeer in the world, so
that's ironic. He's not
I,
the brightest.
I'm tempted. I'm tempted to dock a point because of the 1776 island.
So
It makes no sense. The 4th of July New Year's Island. I mean, does this I don't care for that.
look, I like it. If I was forced to give a Rotten Tomatoes score, I'd give it the thumbs up because it is enjoyable, but it's not near as enjoyable as it should be. So for me, I don't dock it a full point, but I don't know if I can go all the way to 3 out of 5 on the New Year's hats.
2.5 hats.
Maybe 2 3/4. It's just the music lets me down, even though I do like the way it starts.
All right. Well, that has been Rudolph's Shiny New Year, and it's weirder than you remember. But with that, we're getting close to Christmas.
I would have loved to have seen the Banshee and Eon fight each other. Rankin Bass throwdown.
I think a Rudolph Thanksgiving special could have been fun.
Okay. He's got to save the New Year's turkey or the Thanksgiving turkey.
Yes.
He's got to get him pardoned by the White House or something.
All right. Well, with that, toodaloo.
Bye-bye.